Hey everybody, I'm Lex.
Oh, I'm Chris.
That was a little bit of a pause in there. I'm Chris.
I'm playing the theme music in the background.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Theme music in
yeah,
here?
here we go.
So, to not belabor this, we're talking about fog and basically imaging. That's what we use here to image our machines for our lab.
Yep.
And then, and what we do to kick off a baseline automatically, because I am probably the laziest sysadmin and the meanest you'll ever meet. So, with Chris's help, we've gone in and added some Snapins. We'll take you through it. It's really quite cool. And anything to add to that? Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have opening for a system administrator. So call on all sysadmins, please.
That's right. Come play with us. It's a great place to work.
Wonderful place to work. Check it out. pdq.com/jobs, I believe, is the URL. I'm probably wrong, but who knows?
Yeah. It's well, it'll go with the rest of our rough day today so far. So we're gonna start off. I'm gonna have a drink here.
Come by.
All right.
Cool.
So first of all, fog is open source imaging. They're the fog project. We've got some fog guys on the chat today, so if we can't answer your questions, hopefully they can. First of all, I guess, Chris, how do we want to start going into this?
Well, let's just dive straight in. I think let's actually just show what we want to do, because we're discussing how we want to transition from fog to manage the rest of your software and machines with our PDQ products. So let's start with fog, because you need some things.
So the first thing, if you want to be able to kick something off after a fog image, that image has to have the fog service on it.
Yes.
To get the fog service, you go...
Easy peasy. Come over here to the service configuration button. Over here where it has the fog client download section, there's a little hyperlink that says click here. That's very tempting to click there, so I will click here.
You're going to click there. Wow, Chris.
I know.
You gotta love it. The fog guys have done a great job of getting this out for you to use, okay?
They really have. And here you have a couple different options. I believe the Smart Installer works on just about every operating system known to man out there. The MSI obviously is going to be specific to Windows, but you can push it out with PDQ Deploy should you desire, and actually get that set up on your images so that when you actually capture those images, you have the service already installed for the rest of this to work.
Yes. All right. So with that, you got to have the fog service, and then I guess we'll just talk about Snapins and images at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's a Snapin, Chris?
A Snapin is essentially what, for those of us who are familiar with the PDQ vernacular, it's essentially like a package. You can run a script, you can run an executable, you can run something, provide some parameters for that, some arguments, and then actually have them install something to configure something, or in this case, what we're going to show today,
kick off PDQ Deploy.
That's it.
Now, of course, you guys do realize Chris is going to do this in PowerShell.
Of course.
Okay. So
there's no other way.
No other way to do it. All right. So let's show them, I guess, our Snapins that we set up.
Sure. So I clicked here already while we were talking, but there's this Snapin management icon at the top here. You select that, and you can actually show all the Snapins you have by clicking on this list all Snapins hyperlink. You can also create them. We'll show that in a moment. I have created two. One is to kick off a deployment via package name. One is to kick off a deployment via a schedule.
So obviously you can do those, and both of those can be done through a command line. Yep. And that's basically what we're going to be showing you here.
Yep. Exactly. We're actually utilizing PDQ Deploy and PDQ Inventory. Both have command line commands that you can run to actually get this to work and make it really simple. So in the case here with a package name, we'll open this up. And although it looked pretty intimidating at first, possibly, it's really simple. You basically just say, hey, I want to use PowerShell. That's the template I want to use. And then at that point,
you're good with the mouse.
I'm really good with that mouse. I'm clicking like a pro. It actually loads up this bypass for the execution policy. For those who are familiar, that actually changes so that it's actually, there's a few different order for which PowerShell can run. We're just bypassing most of that. It doesn't bypass any group policy settings you may have set at the user or computer level, so if you have that, you need to change that.
Yeah.
So then you actually point to the script that you want to run. In this case, I just created something called PDQ Deploy Start Deployments. It's just a script. I'll show you in a little bit.
Actually, what that script does.
Yeah, I kind of simplified it. You can actually wrap that in a function and include it in your profile, whatever you want to do with PowerShell. That's actually what I do.
You are totally nerding it, man.
I am nerding, oozing it.
Oozing. Do you guys have a question? Okay, well,
sweet.
let's hit a question, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially if it replies to images and Snapins.
All right, our first question of the day. Dear Lex and Chris, how can you image using Fog on Windows 10? Also, can you use Fog with Intel Gen 6 processors? Sincerely, OCSDA.
Well, I can tell you can use fog with Windows 10 because we're doing it here.
Yeah.
We just upgraded recently to version 1.3.4. As for Intel Gen 6 processors, I'm going to defer to the guys from Fog. Maybe they can answer that for you. They know much better than we would.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, we don't have the latest and greatest of the Intel here, so we can't test that and know ourselves. But seriously, we have a lot of the Fog developers here. Ask them.
Yep. If
Basic
you guys wouldn't mind
knowledge.
chiming in on that in the chat, that'd be great.
So, hope that answers.
You got another one, or should we roll? Keep rolling. Okay.
Okay.
Next question, dear Lex and Chris. Fog is one of my favorite tools, but we purchased quite a few Lenovo M78 desktops in the past few years that will not boot with Fog's IPXE. Is there a workaround to use on just these desktops or a way to push out BIOS updates safely? Sincerely yours in IT, Chris R.
I've got some thoughts on this.
Got some thoughts? Okay.
First and foremost, very specific issues.
Guys, we're good at Fog here, but we are not the experts, so
Yeah.
that might be a question you're going to run past the guys in Fog. And I know they've got a great community that answers a lot of those questions.
Really active community. Please
So-
check it out. They're the Fog
I hate to
project.
defer that one, but I'm happy to drink because we couldn't answer it.
That being said, the few things you might look into are the different DHCP options. I forget the numbers off the top of my head, 66, 67, or whatever. It's been too long since I've set that up. There's also two more to explicitly say, hey, use this for the Pixie boot.
So, guys, it seems like we're not able to answer a lot of these Fog questions. I wonder if those of you that are from Fog, that are developers and that are managing the project, if you'd be interested in coming out to a webcast.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Coming out to Salt Lake and
Put you on
do
camera
a
with
little of a part 2 and answer some of the really deep
Fog
deep
questions.
dive
Yeah.
Fog questions.
That's a really good idea.
So
is-
anyway, the invitation is open to all of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Drop
So
on the chat if you're interested.
we'll answer what we can, but again, guys, we're amazing at PDQ Deploy, pretty decent at Fog, and
And speaking of BIOS updates, because most of those out there do have a silent install that you can do, and if you want to do that, yeah, you can push that out with PDQ Deploy even.
you can.
But you're going to have to look up the vendor to see what that is. I think Lenovo, I've used them in the past, and as I remember, the stuff I've used was just whack S. I mean, it was just really, really easy.
Yeah.
So.
/S.
Yep.
Whack could be taken the wrong way.
And you've got
/S.
that's angled. See, look at that. See, although maybe it's inverse.
It's a
So.
computer term.
I agree. All right. So
Okay.
on that note, should we keep going?
So one thing I did want to mention, though, because we all know, well, those of us who tuned in before and those of us who unfortunately work with me, know that I'm obsessed with PowerShell, but you can actually do a lot of different types for the Snapins. Just wanted to mention that before we move on here, because those Snapins you can then assign to an image, or excuse me, to a host,
A host. Yep.
which we're going to do here. We have the computer we're going to use today is Uter the computer.
Uter the computer.
So at this point, in the host management section, there is the menu over here on the left, which hopefully you're very familiar with. If not, you should be.
Try it. It's great.
Yeah, if you click on the Snapins, a hyperlink right there, you can actually pull up what Snapins are currently assigned to it, or you can even select to add some and add it to that host. We've already added a couple here, just in anticipation for this webcast.
Now, with that, if you were to image this machine Uter, right, as soon as that image was done, it would kick off all the Snapins that are associated with this.
Yes.
So, which is great. And then there is an option if you don't want to do that. When you do you want to show that?
Yes, let's do that right now.
All right.
Under basic tasks, you have the option to deploy or capture an image, which is great for deploying and capturing your image of your machine. But in this case, we just want to do a snap-in. So we click on Advanced, scroll down, you'll see the option for all snap-ins or single snap-ins, which is pretty straightforward. All will deploy all of them. Single will just do the single one. Now remember, tying back a little bit, you require the Fog client service to be running on the target.
For the Snapins to be able to be run.
So in this case, you would just simply grab that single snap-in, pick which one you want. Let's just start with the baseline via package name. We'll have that kind of prepped and ready to
Prep
go.
for what we're going to do next.
So
All right, so that's ready to go. Now we need a baseline on deploy.
yes, absolutely.
So there's a couple ways you can go about doing baselines. Probably the easiest and most effective way for doing your images is do a nested package. Basically what we're going to do is just select the packages we want to include.
Yep.
We're going to select the packages. Chris
I can
is.
do that, and
And then we're going to go over here and create a nesting these packages.
Yep, really simple, really easy. So at this point, it grabs each one of those packages that we have selected. And
Now,
you can do
we'll
manual.
grab them in the order you select them.
Yes.
So
you can move them up and down. Say you wanted to do Chrome first, you could do Chrome first. And there are obviously software installations out there that do, the order does matter. I'm looking at UI tunes in our package library. That's a complex one.
now it's important that you name this something that you're going to be able to call from your Snapin.
Yes.
Okay? Because basically what we're going to do, we're going to build this nested package, and that Snapin is going to run a command line, a PowerShell command line, that's going to call this.
Yep. So I'm just going to call it example baseline. It's really simple.
It's an example baseline.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I know. I live on terminology here, but I also did create that Snapin in Fog and referenced using my script, which I'll show you in a bit, to point to example baseline. So.
Wow, man, how much did you have to drink at the
Not
pre-show?
enough, clearly. So at this point, now that we have that package, we can come over to Fog, and we have this baseline via package name, and then we can actually deploy this. So we're going to start this.
Now this will take somewhere between, I don't know, 45 seconds to a couple of minutes to kick off. And the way we'll be able to see it's running is in deploy, you'll actually see deployments start.
Yep. If you aren't on deploy managing it from the interface here under task management, right there, you can actually see the tasks. Right now it is currently queued, waiting for that to next trigger. It checks in every so often, like a minute or so, minute and a half, based on your settings. And then once it does check in, it'll actually go and run that on the target machine, in which case this OODA the computer. So we should, if all goes well, I'm crossing my fingers and my toes, possibly my eyes, hoping that this is going to actually kick off here in a moment.
So while that's going on, let's show you guys how to build a schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Oh, there it is, guys.
Look at that. And
OODA
it's
the
going on
computer.
OODA, so it works wonderfully. So
Okay, so that's how you kick off a nested package. Let's show you how to build a schedule.
sweet, let's do that. Over here on the All Schedules node, over here we can you can click New Schedule up here. Let's just name this
Let me guess. Example schedule?
Example Schedule Baseline.
Oh. Okay.
I'm not going to include any triggers because we're just going to manually call this schedule from our Snapin. Targets, this is where it gets a little bit complex. You can point to an Active Directory OU, you can point to a collection and inventory, you can point to a lot of different
Speaking
targets.
of this, doesn't one of our regulars, Stephen Valdinger, has a blog on that we posted
Yes, he
up
does.
on how he does it with Fog, and it kicks off looking at an OU through a schedule.
That's exactly what he does.
There's a blog out there, Stephen V. Thank you, brother. That's a great one.
Yep.
So check that out. Works with Fog really well also.
Yes,
So,
it's a good way to do that because it can actually migrate stuff based off your OU, move in, move out, do that, get your stuff updated. It's wonderful. Check it out. I think we have that in the bonus content section, I believe. If not, sorry,
We'll
just
get it out
Google
there.
it and
Yeah.
we'll get it there. So, anyway, in this case, you can assign it dynamically to what you want, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to actually manually type in OODA at this point. This is also why we recommend using
Nested
the nested
package.
packages, because the schedule is going to be based on, when you trigger a schedule, it's going to be based off what the schedule is currently pointing to. Which, if OODA is part of the correct OU, you can point to that OU and it will be great, but it will also target anybody else in that
An
OU.
OU.
So just be
so
aware.
if you had a new computer's OU, and that's where when your image was done, it went a new computer's OU, it'd be easy to kick this off,
Yep.
the schedule.
Let's
So
add those packages. So let's just get those same ones that we did in the nested package. We'll tell the schedule, oh wait, good, it already is not, to just deploy no matter how many times we actually call this.
Because if we're going to re-image a machine, we want to still...
Right. So at this point, we can switch back to Fog, and then we have, go back to that host. We had OODA, the computer.
OODA the computer. Chris, you're so creative.
I really am. So, under basic tasks, we go down to advanced, single snap-in, and then we're going to select the PDQ Deploy baseline via schedule name.
And then you could kick that off and it would do its thing.
Should. And
We're going to do it.
Yeah,
Nice.
as well.
Alrighty then. Not only in theory, it actually works. Okay. Excellent, Chris. So basically, there are a couple things you do have to have set to be able to run PowerShell commands remote. Okay. So ultimately, the first thing is you got to hack the registry. Where's Shane? I said that for you, buddy.
He's watching.
I hope. Yeah. Gonna hack the registry. Okay. Gonna make it an edit to the registry. Chris, you want to take us through that?
Yes. So currently, the PDQ Deploy and PDQ Inventory, the current releases of them use named pipes, which kind of throws a hammer when you're actually doing some handling with tokens and doing some stuff with remote connection. So rather than having to try and manipulate and work with that for everybody on a case-by-case basis, we just allowed change here. If you add in this location, so if you look here in the registry, HKey local machine, software, admin arsenal, PDQ deploy, if you add a D word, service port with a value of whatever you want your TCP/IP port to be, then when you restart the background service on PDQ deploy, now the connections will go via TCP/IP rather than named pipes, and this will all work like magic.
Angels sing, and your stuff gets deployed.
So this should only need to happen for the moment. I know we're working to make it simpler for you. So
Okay. The other thing you guys are going to have to do is make sure when you call the command line, whether it's PowerShell, whether it's a batch file, you need to make sure that you are using credentials that are loaded as a console user in the background process. Let's show them, Chris.
I will. And before we get to that, check this out. The schedule kicked off. We actually have those.
We're redeploying again.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to go to the preferences.
Background service. And then make sure down here, the credentials you're using to deploy from the command line are here.
Yes.
Okay, this was for security purposes, so you don't have people launching stuff in the background that shouldn't be able to run stuff.
Exactly. Especially if you have this installed on a server or a shared machine, that's exactly the reason we want to do this. And they can and will be different from the background service. So here we have Chris Powell. That's
Surprise,
me
surprise.
as a console user because we're actually using me. So the Fog service client that's installed on Ooter, it's actually running as me, my credentials, so that this can work and connect to and then use the PDQ Deploy command line via console users. So
should we take some questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Questions?
Dear Lex and Chris, what do you guys at PDQ use Fog for? What could we do if we incorporated Fog with our current PDQ use? Sincerely, Zach.
Zach?
Thanks for the
Hey, Zach, I'm telling you, man, I crank out, and Josh, we crank out lab machines left and right. And, the nice thing is we have PDQ set up using Fog. I put the machine in, I identify it, I start the image, I can walk away. Okay?
Yeah.
And by the time the image is done, I don't have to touch it again. It's available for the guys in the lab to use.
Yep.
So it just ultimately makes me more lazy, more effective, I guess. So I can
Lazily
drink more and give Chris a hard time. But yeah,
Speaking of drinking.
that's what we use it for here. Another nice thing is occasionally I will use a Fog to take a snapshot of a machine that I worry that we may have issues with, so I can put that image back and so that's what we use it for. Chris, you use it for anything?
That's essentially what I've used it for. I actually used Fog. I've used it for the last. Wow, I've been using it for a long time, since it was well before the release, 0.26 or something. I don't remember exactly, but it makes managing your machines really quick, especially since it supports multicast, allowing you to push out so many things so quickly with very little network bandwidth. So,
And again, and we'll have Chris post up the PowerShell. In fact, we might show you the PowerShell.
Yeah, we will.
Up for you guys to use that you can use to actually start kicking these things off with PDQ Deploy. Do you want to show them that, Chris?
now let's jump right into it. So, here is this little script. I wrote it
Okay,
as.
well, before we go too far, you took your password out of this, right?
Oh shoot! Let's no.
Whoops.
So I wrote this as a function, advanced function, which means it can do some extra things. But for all intents and purposes, I actually made it so that you can call the script directly and then call the parameters rather than the function. Which you could do that, wrap it in function, do it yourself. If you have any questions, hit up support. They'll find me. I'll
For
help
those of you who are not true PowerShell geeks, that was nerdy, corgi nerd.
Yes.
To be fair, though, all of you should be PowerShell geeks.
Yes. Yes.
I can't argue with that,
direction
guys.
we're all
I
going.
cannot argue with that either. So I need to nerd up, I guess.
All right, speaking of nerd up, so walking through this script really quickly, because I'm not going to do everything because we know how boring it gets to look at scripts, but essentially I accept a few parameters with a couple different parameter sets, meaning you can choose to use a package name, a schedule name, or a schedule ID. The command itself, PDQ deploy start schedule, is the command line command. It accepts the schedule ID. I'm I don't remember the schedule ID or know it without looking it up, but I might know the name. In this case, example schedule baseline. So I wrote a quick little wrapper to connect to that machine's database to look up the ID based off the name and then run from there. So it does a little bit of advanced stuff. We talked about actually making it so that it would actually check to make sure that you had that registry registry hack set up. But I decided against it for simplicity. So here are the parameters, and then here's the actual process itself. It stores all those parameters, in a little hash table so that you can actually take those parameters as they are and feed them into the invoke commandlet. So that we're basically saying, on OODR, run this command, which says, run against the machine that has PDQ Deploy, which in this case is our machine Guinness.
Right there, that's the command, guys.
That's the one that run with the for the package.
For the package,
yes.
That's right.
So with that, when we do the invoke command, all of this, which it's not going to fit on the screen, but all of this is running on Guinness. But we're actually taking the command above it, making sure that we're deploying to the correct target, which in this case, if you don't supply a target, it grabs the local machine, which since we're running on OODR, it grabs the machine OODR, and then you pick your package name, your schedule name, and it just kind of pumps that into our little commands based off whether you're using a package, schedule, or schedule ID, builds a command, builds a script block, and says, go run this script block. I also threw in a little bit of logging both on your target machine and the deploy machine for PowerShell, just to make sure that it's working the way you expect. So anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff. You can even do a what if switch, but
I like that, Chris. That's actually very cool
it's pretty fancy.
for a nerd.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, man. That is really cool. I love it. So do we got another question?
Sure.
Dear Lex and Chris, when you create a baseline, are those updated to the latest updates as they come out? If not, is there a way to make sure your baselines are always updated? Sincerely, Paul K.
I love it. I love it. If you're building a nested package and they're based in we're selecting ones off our local console, they're as updated as the last time I pulled them down. So if a new version comes out tomorrow, I have to go change my nested package. Okay. You want to talk about
Auto deployments.
Auto deployments?
So we do have that feature, auto deployments, for those enterprise users, where if you have a package, let's even just say Google again, that you want to deploy to your machines and have it constantly up to date based off your kind of window of which how often you want it to be updated. We can create a new auto deployment using schedules. We'll just use the existing schedule we used here. And what that does is it will actually go and download the latest version or the version that you've set for this particular auto deployment. And every time you deploy that schedule, it will go out and grab what the settings and the appropriate package based off that auto deployment.
Now, you got to remember, in your parameters, you got your auto approval time. So if you haven't approved it and it comes out and you got a 7-day approval, it comes out on Monday, and you deploy on Wednesday, you're going to get the latest and greatest that was approved until the next approval. So that's kind of, work that as best you can. But yeah, I mean, that would be how you would do that, is through an auto deployment schedule.
And it will work great. So now if you were to run that exact same example schedule baseline again, it would include this up-to-date Google Chrome in perpetuity.
Yep.
So, but remember, we do recommend the nested packages simply because it's easier to dynamically choose targets. But in this case, if you actually have it set up so you're migrating new installs to a particular OU, as Stephen Valdinger suggested in his guest blog post, this is going to be probably the solution for you, because then you can actually associate it with a particular OU, with this schedule, and then you will have all the updated software you could ever hope according to our package library. So,
And the last thing you can do in that schedule is run a PowerShell script to move that new machine out of an OU to a different OU. So
exactly.
Keep that clean. So
automation. Yay.
I love automation.
Yep.
We have a repeat from Zach. Zach M. My bad. Are there significant advantages to FOG over MDT for an environment that does not have remote assets that are not VPN'd in?
Thanks for the question. Well, we stare blindly, and for the most part, this is going to be a question for the FOG developers here. Yeah. They'll probably know. But that being said, I've used MDT and I've used FOG. FOG is so much simpler to set up and to use.
Yeah.
Once you're familiar with the actual making an image yourself, if you're using sysprep, if you're trying to do like a hardware abstract layered image, making sure that you actually can do things the way you want, that's going to be pretty similar. But the actual usability of FOG is top notch.
That's why we use it here. I mean, ultimately, it's simple. It runs on Linux. The price is right. I can script a lot of it.
Yeah.
So again, what's easiest for me? How fast can I get an image out, and how little do I have to touch it before someone else can use
Yeah,
it?
that's exactly it.
So,
I hope that kind of answers your question in a way.
kind of. You got another one, man? Excellent.
I have a question from OCSDA. Can you create an image on Fog using an SSD?
I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hardware.
Hold that up, yeah.
That's
Yeah. I'm fairly certain it should be a
yeah,
problem.
it should work.
Sure.
Don't know why it wouldn't.
they're-
We're gonna go with yeah.
Definite maybe.
Maybe, yes.
I think I have, but we've never actually done it off an SSD because we actually pull it off our virtual machines when we
Yeah.
create everything off of. So it's just pulling from a pool, and so I don't have explicit experience with that. I don't know that any of
I don't
us
know.
do,
I
but
couldn't see why it would matter.
Yeah,
but,
it should work.
I would imagine it would.
Yeah.
So we got great.
And a question from Paul K. Our HP desktops can boot via Pixie, but our Dell Vostro 260s are no longer working. I was able to create the image, but now they are no longer working. Any ideas?
There's a lot of things I would check in that one.
Yeah, if it's no longer working, that implies that they were working at some
Something has
point.
changed,
Yeah,
so-
so clearly something is different.
Chase down what's changed. What's actually changed.
Yeah, have you done a BIOS update to those machines? Have you? There's a lot of stuff. I mean, if it's BIOS update, maybe they disabled the Pixie on the actual in the settings themselves. I mean,
Have you made
there's lots
changes to
of-
DHCP? Have
Yeah.
you
There's a lot that could happen.
Yeah, that's a pretty broad one, guys. So try those.
Yeah, please check them out.
Oh,
And Jorlando or Orlando D would like to know, does Fog allow offline imaging via USB key?
My
I'm gonna have to go. I don't know. I've never tried it.
I know there's going to be a reason for this, but why?
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the obvious, Chris. But
Network booting is brilliant.
Yeah.
In simplicity, you can load not only the fog image stuff for your deployments, you can load your tools, throw them up. Oh man, you can do everything from Pixie booting, which
Yeah.
it's been around for what almost 20 years now. I mean, it's been around. It's pretty solid technology at this point. I'm not sure about the offline stuff.
I'm just wondering if they were sending someone a key for a laptop or something. that was on the network,
Maybe
huh?
that's.
I've never tried it on USB
Sort
key
of
before.
one-time use type thing, or
So
I would imagine it requires the server to handle this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, I would guess no, but
the Fog guys might be able to answer that one.
Yeah,
Boy, that's a
yeah.
lot of deferring to the guys online.
wow,
but
no
hey,
pressure. Wow, we are.
I'd like to phone
Again.
a friend.
Wayne, if you'd like to come out to Salt Lake and
Yeah.
We'll do one.
we'll do
a
a part
full
2
Fog
of
thing.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fly you out and then do all sorts of fancy stuff.
jump on front of the camera.
Shake your hand for such a great product.
Yeah. High five, guys. I love Fog here. We got any more?
Let's keep going.
All right.
Turn into a Q&A
People want to
here.
hear it.
This is a question fest, I guess. How does Fog and PDQ handle Windows updates? Sincerely, Ryan M.
Okay, so your Fog image, the last time you take your Fog image, that's what you're going to be laying down. Okay? With that, we include cumulative, am I saying this, updates. So you could actually deploy cumulative updates
Yes.
after Fog has laid down the initial image.
Yes, Windows 7 and Windows 8.1, they have the roll-ups, the cumulative roll-ups, which are security plus feature plus some other.
That's a new thing
Inclusion.
we've started offering in the past.
Yeah.
It's a new enterprise option. feature
Exactly.
for you,
And there's also
so.
the security-only updates, which happen per month, which are not cumulative.
Guys, best practice, stick with the cumulative.
Yeah, those we do provide those now, but for the most part, if you're not using those and you're using Windows, take a look at WSUS.
Yeah.
It does a great job.
It's a
of
good
keeping your
product.
stuff-
It is a
your
good
stuff
product for updates. It really is.
once you keep machines up to date, if you do updates once a week, once a month, whatever, if you just make it part of your process to recapture a golden image, a baseline of what you have, then you're set. Push those out. I know one of my old places I used to work, we had several hundred, close to 500 machines that we used to image weekly. We just allowed a lot of stuff to be configured and changed and installed and whatever. We just wanted to have it clean installed Monday morning. We just basically had a part of our weekend script was to go do updates on our base image, go capture that image, and then go deploy it to all the machines. So
So yeah, you can definitely do that too.
Should we keep it going?
Hey, if people are watching, they want it. We'll do the best we can.
Wow.
Let's do it. Love the glasses.
Aren't they nice? Styling,
Love it.
profiling. Thank you, CP. I haven't worked with Snapins much, but after I image with Fog, is there a way to set the OOBE answers, i.e. users that will be using this computer, etc., using the Snap-in feature for when I image Windows 10?
I would stick with the sys prepping.
Yeah.
In general for all this, like build your stuff beforehand. Setting stuff afterwards, I'm sure where there's a will, there's a way, because most things look like nails when you have a hammer.
Yeah, I was going to say
And thus
sometimes
PowerShell.
that's like a sledgehammer job that you probably shouldn't do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but depending upon the setting, absolutely. There's stuff you can do after it's been installed. Most settings can be configured. I mean, most settings are available via PowerShell to the point where even their server applications a lot of times are running PowerShell under the hood for certain stuff that they do, or they're not even visible except via a PowerShell interface. So I know
There's a will, there's a way.
but yeah.
Sometimes it's may not be worth the pain to figure out how to do it. So
Right. If you have any examples or something, or need any assistance or pointing a direction, I'm happy to help. Just give us a shout out, hit up support, say, hey, Chris said hit me up, and yeah, that's terrifying, but go for it.
it's terrifying. For asking Chris for help is terrifying.
No. I'm just opening the door for.
Oh yeah, like ask Chris.
Yeah.
Chris is a great resource, guys. His blog's amazing. Amazing blog on PowerShell.
Oh, we got another one coming out too. So yay.
Another blog?
Yeah,
What's it on?
so those of us who watched last week, okay, wow, selling. Get physical disk is the way you look up how to get the SSD or HDD. So yeah, there's that.
That's
anyway.
in PowerShell.
Yeah.
It's a PowerShell. That new blog coming up.
Yep.
All
Just
right.
threw it out there.
The language of choice.
Yep. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
And next question from Rod C., and that is a stylin' bow tie. Rocking the bow tie. Love
is a
that.
bow tie.
Are there any network card driver issues using fog imaging?
Probably with something. Who knows?
Could be, but here's the thing. If you can lay down a baseline and you can push that image up the fog, I think the possibility of there being a problem is gone.
Yeah.
So again, you're going to push that image back out to similar style hardware or have a different image for different hardware. So
Yeah. Well, in the process of fog, you actually go register a machine. If you can reach that machine, you probably have a good inclination that you can use that machine with fog. There's going to be a lot of workarounds, I'm sure. I know you can actually go compile your own a list of drivers. You can go play around with the kernel itself, compile your own kernel for your Pixie booting stuff. But there's a lot of options, and even with limited knowledge, there's a lot of resources with a lot of people who are just very brilliant. Many who are here, these fog developers, who can probably point you in the right direction to kind of get help or even help yourself. So, but for the most part, you should be fine,
Yeah.
especially with updated.
I haven't
hardware.
run into any issues so far.
Yeah.
Chris W. has a question, one of those things that make you go, Do you create a Windows 7 image with full updates, or are you updating with roll-up packages?
Personally, I like my image to be as updated as possible because that's just less time that thing has to sit chugging through the baseline. It's a personal preference. That's the way I do it, Chris.
That's the way I think it should be done. That's you have an image that's up to date, and because fog is so ridiculously fast at pushing out an image, you could have, for those who are still Windows 7, I know that's when I really used fog heavily, it was when I was on Windows XP and Windows 7, and I could push out and have a machine ready to roll with someone logging in like 3 minutes flat. So regardless of size, I mean a few hundred megabytes, a few gigs here and there, not a problem. Go update your machines, capture an image. When you deploy it, it's just that much faster
Yeah.
than having to wait on the actual Windows update process to occur. So
Agreed.
yeah. And I see a comment from Shane saying the media type property is only available in Windows 8 and later. Yes, it is. It's because of the MSFT physical disk class. WMI class, wow, that is just on the tip of my tongue there. So that is only available from Windows 8 onwards. So the whole get physical disk thing, yes, Windows 8 onwards, unfortunately. Anyway.
And our final question of the day from Dougie Fresh K. Can I use existing SCCM images with fog, or do I need to create all new images?
Now, I'm not sure if you can use them, but I will say this. Making an image with fog is unbelievably easy and really quick. So if you can figure it out, great. If not, they go pretty quick, man.
Yeah, I don't personally have experience with SCCM myself, but if you're to the point where you can capture an image from SCCM or however its agent, I think it uses an agent, does that, you can capture that with Fog. It's super easy, super simple, and there's so many good, helpful tutorials online that can walk you through that process. But essentially, even if you're not doing sysprep or any of the OOBE stuff, man, it's easy. So,
Well, hey, thanks guys for watching today.
Yeah.
Appreciate the Fog guys being here.
yeah, thank you.
Again, it's a throwdown for you Fog guys. Come on out and we'll do this with you guys. Thanks for watching. Remember, we're looking for a kick-ass sysadmin, so apply and come work with super cool Chris and almost cool me.
Yes.
We'll catch you guys later.
Ciao.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations to Zach M. and Paul K., winners of our PDQ swag. You can send us an email with your information at webcast at PDQ or PDQ at webcast.
Cast at pdq.com.
Yeah, we're still getting used to the new URL. And of course, don't forget we do have that sysadmin position. You can find that on our website. And a shout out to our friends at Fog. If you would like to join us on a webcast, hit us up with an email. We'd love to talk to you.